most people don't know that one of the first schools in Palm Beach County was founded right here in Delray Beach. The first non-native settlers in Delray arrived in 1894, and they were Black families from Florida's Panhandle and from the Bahamas, and they purchased land from the Model Land Company. During that time, prior to William Linton's arrival in 1895, they planted winter crops, they built the first church, and they established the first schoolhouse in Delray.
The school here was established in 1894, and it was called Number 4 Colored.
A building had to be erected, land had to be cleared, and there also had to be a path cleared from the canal, which is now the Intracoastal, to where the school was located. And that was mostly so teachers didn't have to go through whacking through saw palmetto with machetes.
The teacher, Reverend B.F. James,
and a woman named Frances J. Bright, and they were the first school teachers in Delray Beach. It was a palmetto thatched schoolhouse, which was very common at the time.
School began in 1895, but as soon as harvest season rolled around, parents left the area and the school closed for lack of attendance. The second teacher for colored children came from Fort Lauderdale. His name was Clarence Walker. He reestablished school. He tried really hard to convince the parents to leave their children in school, but when a parent has a choice between educating their child or feeding their family, feeding one out. And then once again, harvest season rolled around, parents left the area, the school closed for lack of attendance.
Of course, those reports did not take into account that Black children were only permitted to go to school 6 months out of the year, compared to 9 months for white children. And during those 6 months, Black children were often required to work in farm fields, they were required to work in hotels, and they were also migratory, a part of migratory farming families. And so they would travel up and down the East Coast.
From towns like this throughout Florida and throughout the South, the 2 to 3 millions move out on their annual migration, which ends in late November.
Mr. Spady is credited for stabilizing education in Delray Beach for Black children, or as we were called when Mr. Spady arrived in 1922, colored children. Now, Mr. Spady had some help with that. Back in the 1920s, Henry Flagler's railroad had just opened. He had just completed the railroad. It expanded the market for local farmers exponentially. So our local farmers here in Palm Beach County got very wealthy with the advent of the railroad. The other thing it did was it allowed people to start visiting our area, and it established our tourist industry. By the time Mr. Spady came in 1922, as I said, the railroad was up and running. There are alternate occupations for families. They can now get jobs in some of the businesses that are opening up in Delray. So fewer families left the area, and education for colored children was stabilized to a certain extent with Mr. Spady's tenure. He was here between 1922 and 1957. Before he left, the new Carver High School on Southwest 12th Avenue had been built, was given the name Carver High School, and the old Carver High School, which was on Northwest 8th Avenue, was renamed S.D. Spady in his honor. So that was Mr. Spady's tenure here in Delray, and of course he did a lot more than teach children while he was here. He supported the community.
Mrs. Shank, do your pupils, who are most of them children of migrant families, are they anxious to get an education?
Terribly anxious, even more so than the child in the normal school year.
I was born in Quitman, Georgia, and we migrated here from Quitman to Florida, and we lived on the range line, we used to call it.
Our family worked between Alabama and Quitman, and then they found out that maybe life as a farmer was better here in Delray, so they decided, well, let's just go to Delray and start farming. And we also had a cousin that owned his own farm, so my dad began farming, peppers and squash, and he would take us out on the farm, and we worked like the weekends. And we had older brothers and sisters that taught us how to read and write before we were able to go to public school. And that's how we ended up at S.D. Spady when we were in like first grade. Spady was fun, and I'd say we walk We didn't have buses back then. We lived on the south side of town, at the very end of town. And from there, we walked all the way over to Spady, which is still there. And we didn't have a problem walking from one side of town to the other side of town. But the teachers there were very knowledgeable. They were like your parents. They didn't, take no nonsense. It was all education. Get your education, learn how to read and write so you can go further.
But the older we got, we would go back to my grandmother's in Georgia, and we did work the fields. And that was like a summer break for us, from Florida to Georgia. And we did that for years until my mom said we was old enough now to stay home and get small jobs in different places. And we did restaurants and the hospital. And we grew up that way. And we got our education, in which it was very important to my mom and my dad that we did get an education.
We wanted to improve ourselves, to do more. So now, I still in my kid, I want them to do more than I did. Don't just reach for a high school education. Try to set your goals higher, go for college, and be the best that you can be.
Laura, how old are you?
11.
11, what grade are you in?
In the 6th.
6th grade. Do you intend to go to high school, Laura?
Yeah.
What would you like to be?
I'd like to be a teacher.
My fondest memories are me lining up my baby dolls and, having school chalkboard, going to work with my aunt or my dad and playing school. I was always teaching somebody, giving direction, maybe a little bit of bossy, but I don't know. But I think that is just the passion that I have for sharing knowledge. I worked as a first grade teacher, a pre-K teacher, elementary, 4th and 5th grade, reading resource. I've kind of done a little bit of everything. And then I got, I think, the leadership bug. So I ended up graduating from the University of South Florida, where I majored in education. After landing a job, a couple of years as a first-year teacher, I decided that I wanted to make a bigger impact. So I went back to school to get my master's in educational leadership. So that is how I got into the seat of being a principal. And I think I am on my 9th year of being the principal of one school. I've been at Village Academy. I never thought that my first principalship would be at a school that serves students from pre-K through high school. I tell my students here at Village Academy that without education and starting with at least a high school diploma, that, without that, you are limiting yourself to the opportunity, the possibility, the knowledge, all of those pieces that come along with being a scholarly kind of a student. And what I want to pass on, that it's important to be educated. It is a gift. Knowledge is power.
A lot of local students come through here. So I think the educational, teachers in Delray have a lot of, appreciation for Delray's history and are excited to teach their students more about Delray and about the changes in its history, in its culture, and just in the history of Delray. And so it's been great to sort of be a part of that and to see that.
We focus on individuals because we know that people make a community. People make lives, and people make areas that are safe and that are prosperous, right?
I believe that it is the reason why the spirit of education, the excellent spirit of education in Delray Beach, is certainly noted, and it is something that is respected. It is something that is nurtured by the entire community. They call this city the American City, and I believe that same energy is put towards school. So I think that was the beginning of this area, this community, that education is important. And